Hey, I think we are online. So after a break, which seemed to have lost the connection. So after a long break, a week or so, I'll be doing more game development instead of UI development. We were working with Figma to do a bit of UI design, but I think it was a little bit more fine-tuned than should be. Changes to the flow. Maybe I should work on the function. So back in Godot, I'll try to fix these menus functionality wise and then we'll move forward. So today's goal is to have these menus popping up in the right place and maybe making selections inside them so we could actually have a model preview once the person chooses wheelbarrow. When the mouse is over the game area, maybe preview of the wheelbarrow. So once the click happens in the game area, the correct instance of the put in the game. Your typical place an object in. Okay, so where do we start for this? Something new I haven't done before. I have a basic understanding of how it can be done. It will probably involve raycasting, and of course a big part of the problem is to make sure if the object should be placed in certain area. We don't want to place objects inside each other. We will likely create objects of two types, interactable and non-interactable, that kind of thing, and maybe their conditions against each other and against the same type. So let's first fix the HUD. So for some reason, even though I am seeing side player operations, for some reason I'm seeing the equipment panel aligned here, but it was ignoring the positioning. It's always aligning its bottom left corner. Because the way I remember, this is set as bottom left. Okay. And the bottom left is against the panel's anchor. But it was actually, and of course the same thing happens with, and I think there was some kind of script initiation there for initialization. We got rid of those. Instead, we are now, yeah, storing the physical nodes inside code here. That's what we are trying to turn on. So player operations, let me see. So when equipment button is clicked, we hide all the other panels. We want to open only the one that's one. But where it's opened has nothing. Let's restart it again. Let's go into remote. Object should still have exit. It's actually not visible yet. So my instinct, once we turn it on manually from game engine interface, is similar to the way we turn it by click. We turn it on. How it's open has nothing to do with where it's open. but where it's opened, looks like that's the con. That's what we'll investigate. Chocolate may help. I think the easiest solution right now. Let's consider this panel's anchor as the parent for all panels. They are always going to be opened in that area, but the way panel's anchor is positioned. Now, I never investigated whether did I maybe one of the times in previous streams was looking as if the panel's anchor was resetting its position. This whole thing is actually pushing it. Whether it's that or not, I think what we can do, quick fix, let's keep this VBox content. Let's keep the player operations. I can turn this into a HBox, because if I add the child HBox, then I'll have to take the paths. And dirty solution. That's that. Now for panels anchor, this is going to expand for the term. This is going to this way. This might work. Yeah, still ignoring. Here's the V-Box inside an H. This is just some contain some same old question. Is the equipment panel ignoring its panel's anchor ignoring? So right now the position information panel's anchor is 85 from left. So what happens when we run? Here, here, position still 85. Margin left is 80. That's good news. Equipment, that's actually so 85, 85 seem to position. It kind of makes sense that this stays 0 because this stays 0 in parents. That's okay. But altogether, No, I actually opened the equip. Let's rerun. So open equipment. This is a last resort what I can. Whichever one is bought. Why should I see any other value than so displayed in the expected? Whichever one is yes, the one to only suspicion that this is because it's a panel and that it actually ignores the coordinate system. Displaying pop-ups with it's essentially a pop-up. It's a sub-window and modeled by all pop-up methods. Your correct placement. There's this pop-up with whether you want it centered or not. So if I force this, what is it? 0085 or shouldn't be able. I shouldn't really do this. But here's another thing. It's just a visibility thing. This is the conversation I was having last time. In the previous game, Meat Crafter, I think there was a point I started making pop-up controls like this, but then I turned them into simple controls with, it's just normal container that looks like a pop-up, and I was ability by doing the show and hide instead of using pop-up. Because what is the benefit of having a pop-up at this point? You are making window that this actually comes with title. I think this is for really application stuff like want to delete a file. Are you sure you want to delete it? You have a yes and no question. Accept that. will be accepted or closed. So these are all variants of pop-up. Window dialog is one of them. Accept dialog is basically this version of a window dialog with this and but they're all coming from pop-up, and one of the pop-up descendants is panel pop-up panel. Basically a pop-up with just background customized. But I think we are going to be doing a lot more fancy stuff than basic stuff. So I might get rid of this and instead use just a simple container. Right now, this is only, yeah, this could just be a panel, pop panel. That way we are not going to use pop method. Let's change type pop-up panel to just a panel. It will its background. It's fine. We are going to do this for player operations. Are not their position. I'm guessing because of being a normal container instead of pop-up thing, and I'm guessing they will actually inspect their coordinates. We won't need for this. We will actually do show. So will work, and hide is generic. And of course, the only caveat here, you have to make, because when they are pop-ups, they are automatically turned off. You have to trigger the method pop-up. Here they actually start off. When you do this, they will now respect their position. Okay, so this is the second time I'm actually not exactly disappointed in pop-up UI components, but maybe my understanding of how to use them, or like I guess I'm overloading the area probably more, because they tend to be open centered, or you give them a coordinate when you open them, but when they are positioned inside UI system like this, their position is ignored. They are moving forward. Well, this was kind of the easy part. Now that we are displaying buttons, we now have to be able to do something. I think although I don't want to refine or keep refining this design, I think this was in fireworks, actually transferring some of the design. This was the so although it may look gray, no, right, still be we have the basic functionality. Then we'll, of course, the goal is to have this was an equipment panel. Click something, place it. Let's have this basic part. I'll move this to the side to have a reference. So let's pretend we are doing the planting. Planting panel will have a panel in the background itself. Let me just move the design, capture it, see what I'm talking. We need a horizontal H box. Should have this section, this right hand. Then this H box could actually have three sections: one for the icon, one for the exp. We'll have three buttons here. Here's something quite exist in Go. It's opening and closing this accordion. I think there's something called tree, but I don't think it works quite like this. This part is the pre. So let's start by, we already have an, this should have 3 bits. We could actually have a vertical box of 3 buttons there, pretty much. Could have some. So let's have a V box stuff. This will be icons in the middle. Then next to this, we will have an area on the right side. So let's keep it control. Explanation. And also inside, let's go with tree and then see if populate this tree. This tree with size 223. I think we can just make this 200. Minimum size 220. The bigger question is tree. How does a tree work? Select it, expand it, and sounds more and more like what I need. Tree can have multiple columns. Custom controls, text edit. Trees are built via code. In tree item structure. keeping an eye on the audio input. I'm glad you guys are not garbage. I hope you're not here. At least the audio mixer is not showing any input. Garbage track. So we could add some items in the code. Well, most likely those the list of herbs and vegetables, they will be coming from a JSON file. So we will actually do some kind of data input and then this sort of let's actually shamelessly copy this. Let's do this. And we actually have it. I guess each panel will control its own script. I don't think I should maybe I'll actually generalize to register what kind of thing is selected in different panels. So let's just be concerned with the most immediate thing. Let's not prematurely optimize things. So here's a ready thing, just like in the code example. Can we paste it? Because now I this way. So we already have a tree create tree you create item. You actually don't need this. Already have it. Tree. That tree will create an item. Hide the root. I see. So that it would actually bind the child items under. A root is actually hidden. I think we will have that because where is the design? Because all these items, kale, potato, and tomato, they are vegetables, but we wouldn't want to have vegetable roots visible to the user. Vegetable is the root, which is hidden. So all we see is basically second level. First level, the root level will be hidden. So we are creating two children on subchild under. Well, actually, essentially have three children. Well, including the grandchildren. The subchild one question is only create an item, but you don't set its text. What does its let's see. Let's run this. Turn on the planting. Okay, so they are essentially. So here's child one. Here's child two. Child one also has a subchild one, which actually has the label subchild. Interesting. So what we can do, given a list of things here, say let's create some kind of dummy data. We'll actually go into a data file like say var vegetables. Vegetables will be a dictionary. First entry will be kale. Kale will have a list of things. thing 1, thing 2, and then we will have potato. This will have potato, potatoey things. This is the part that's really stay loyal to the drawback. It's pony best. Super Italian paste. Something like all this is here. Then let's create a new function. Call industry. Or first of all, we could actually do something. Vegetables, this is key. For vegetable piece, which is the vegetable list. Vegetable itself is the label. We create actually the root should already have been created. Recreate item. Set height root. That's good. This is the part where recreate item. Good. Then no longer child 1 or 2 because every child, and after iteration of the loop, new child is created, stored in. So the child 1. So I should be able to do child set text selectable. Yeah, maybe we will make something select column because they also said you could have multiple columns, and the text itself will be vegetable because that's kale, potato, and sub item. Here is where we do the subchild. In child, we create another item, subchild. Subchild's name is going to be Spartan. The text for this will be, this is actually where we do another loop. For these are variants. So for variants, vegetables, this is the dictionary itself, but which key are we referring to is the vegetable. This vegetable in all vegetables will give us an array for each variant in that array. So that's when we are subject. The text for that is the variant itself. It's called variant. Now this should actually let us all set up. Yeah, I gotta fix that game area zoom in, zoom out control. It's interfering with it's passing through. But this is a good start. So every item is actually created. Once we do the proper UI, call it UI skinning, then everything will start looking more pretty. So, question is whether these items are always open or can they actually see the document. Let me first do this UI, the mouse scroll thing, because that's going to bug me. I think that it was definitely actually stopping at the panel level itself, because then this is it's actually taking. Okay, see, when you ignore, then it no longer does this. There was something passes. I thought stop was supposed to. There was a very easy solution. I thought, yes, more chocolate, more solution. This H box is, where is it? Rerun the game. I think most cases you don't have to. Working fine. Huh. Because right now I'm over the buttons. Stopped either. Looking at game and we when you game focus, you're not focus here. This is when you do like tab, spacebar, or left right arrow. Component is in focus, so you select it. Int is just tooltip stuff, rectangle is coordinates. None of this. So you should stop to stop for the box to. That's good stuff. You know, actually, I'm kind of when I say stop. Yeah, it's about this control receiving. So when I do stop, I'm basically ignoring the mouse scroll event. Therefore, it actually lets the mouse scroll event through. So if anything, it should actually be, I do ignore the original. Mind you, I don't really have any bounding. Then what happened? Distinct. No, there, and there's some setting here ignoring what I'm trying. Allow reselect. Allow right mouse button select. Hide folding. Yeah, if I turn this on, then I don't. Oh, that's top mode. This is dragging and dropping with select mode symbol. This is for styling, finding the separate color information. All this will be kind of overwritten when we do by design. One of this, I think my main mistake is this: the way I am handling mouse scroll event is too high. Let's say go to the. Might have closed that. This as a script. This actually has an this scroll. Where was I? Scroll camera. Full camera. Rotate zoom camera. There you go. I'm not exactly checking where this scroll is happening, whether it's on over the game world or not. So it's actually catching every single scroll event. In this case, it's luminous. So because the game area is not exactly used. If it was, then we could actually find a scroll event. But instead, we are capturing the mouse event at the whole like game level. So we have to possibly basically when the event has happened, what is which uh, which game object was on. It's here. Going to do mouse up. There's just too much going on in bug area. I'm gonna think about this and then come back. I need to make myself some tea, so I'll be back soon. For the break, I was looking into separating game level mouse events from low level UI events. I was trying to output the camera zoom event here. But there was just too much noise here. The events. And this zoom camera is the result of this event. Let's look this up. Wasn't one of these things giving us um, input event? It's essentially an input event. And in this case, it's okay. Input event. Let's run it again. And this is all mouse motion. You scroll up, it's a mouse button. Input event. Input event. This actually event had properties. Input event. Copy this button. Best factor stuff. I kind of remember where would give you the object, which object triggered it. Was it GUI input? Or we just looked at it? We did it's basically the basic input event. I don't think this is the whole list because when we go to input mouse button, it inherits from input event. Like, but input event mouse is in with modify, which is essentially input event. Input event with modify. So yeah, okay, this is where we should see different properties. This is leading to mouse position. This actually leads to this guy. Don't want to do this. There's yeah, this is what I remember from the project. Okay, what I'll do. Okay, this is what I'll do. Git, which script was this game script, but then it turned into a camera script. In zoom camera, if the event is input mouse button. Okay. If event is this, then just pass. But put a breakpoint here. So when we are here and the engine stops, we'll look at what's in event. Go. So over the game area, mouse scroll up, button up. Here's the event. Event is an object. The world screen area. This is that. Let's let this go. Now I'm going to do the same thing. Stop again. Okay, because mouse button is also a click. Let's temporarily remove this. Click go. Now scroll up, down. I think this is something I have to look into later. I have a feeling once we have more UI components, more things covering the screen, and we do want to do scroll up and down and even click, that kind of thing. This will become an issue. Need a much more solid understanding of this whole. So I'll let it go because today's goal is to have somewhat working planting menu. So let's focus on closing all these things, because if I get into fixing things, then we don't build. This is just for folding. The column titles first there. Let's look at. So when we create an item, was it right? We're creating. Let's go into player inside player operation planting. Inside here, planting. Let's close all other tabs and let's open the okay. So when we are creating an item, what else can we do? So we created parent index number. Set column expand and is also true. So when we create a column, create an item. But when we do expand, also doing the index number. Set column. Of course, that's actually the tree method. Which column are we? Only one column here. Because when we set the text for the child items, where we were passing the column ID, when I do this sounds false. Let's also do this. Let's keep, doesn't matter, start. It's as if it's treating the arrow as a second column. If I do this, is it going to show the first text visible? Arrows not. Would also be nice to have click of the title. Let's look at. I may have to write my. Let's investigate another. Or just An item list is like HTML multi-select list. Looks new. Please, here's I don't order code. Yeah, this is new. Not that it's relevant to our goals. It would be nice to use the tree component so I can actually take advantage of the theme options. Sign it. You have all these stuff, all these options stuff. Okay, first of all, also check this, because when we have cell or cell selected item, could do the hiding and showing thing. Select. Let's look at the tree for the column's title is items labels. Double click. Item collapsed. So there should be a way to collapse the method collapses. Because let's think about it. When everything is open, and now I'm collapsing Kale, there should be an inner mechanism. So I should double click this title, expecting children of Kale to open, because there was something about double click item double click. When items icon is double click. But there is also the icon thing, like part of the display area. This doesn't count. You could already do one click. You don't need to double click. That's separate. It's just the icon. Because when you add the items, create icon. There was some icon assignment. Yeah, what icon are it? Some UI components come with their own icon property. Some buttons have an icon. I think this is the key I'm missing. When we create an item, then becomes the item. This should actually, there you go. Collapse store. This is what I was. This will probably have icon. That whether the item is set stuff, set icon. Yeah, because you do those things in the item that is created, which is the item class definition. And this most likely has all the things we need. Does this come with its own set of signals? Collapsed. If true, the tree item is called. If true, folding is disabled for this tree. So this is it. So when we create an item, there, let's do that. Because it would be stupid to have it all open. Because then the list is too long. It would be really awkward to have a component like this that is designed so that it doesn't have any. So the subchild will be collapsed. And indeed it already collapsed. And nothing is collapsed because this is actually not the collapsed part. This is the collapsed part. Child itself is the vegetable names such as kale, potato, and tomato. They should come. They are showing the okay. So only the last one. Well, in the beginning, actually everything. So so when you click the title, actually I'm expecting it to open. Let's do that part and move forward. So something like button pressed. Now, does it consider the title, the text itself, pressed as button pressed or not? Free item. I don't think this is it. I think this is something. However, item that is triggering this signal is the tree item itself. So let's see. Let's do this here. Everything. See what's going. Double click. Nothing. This is nothing. Cell selected. Cell selected. Which cell is selected? What am I? These cells selected. What am I? Every single. Now this is kind of cool because you could distinguish between category click. Then we would use that call to expand the list. So turn the collapse property to false. But if we click a variant, then we want to fill the explanation. We wouldn't want to collapse or set the collapse property to false for it. But we don't know which cell is selected. Do we? Limited when a cell is selected. Why they do something because it would be too confusing to know which item is doing selected when a column's title is. I think this is part where I was trying to differentiate. So it's safe to remove these two. Column two stay the same. This. So this guy, this guy. Country column title. But these were titles. There's no set text. What am I supposed to? The an official description of what a title is. Get select. Get column type. That's the column. Get it. Get select. Okay, we could actually do. We know something is. This didn't happen. Fine, but we know a cell is selected. So what we could do is this. By the way, I don't think that would have worked, but just want to make sure because this wouldn't have worked. But now that we know cell is selected, what we can do is get selected. This is according to the patient. Ask you about something. Tree item 1 for 2 4. The tree item. Tree item will give us. Can we actually do this forecasting? Suppose we can tree item this the cell name title. Can the tree item have get button, get text? Could do that. I was hoping this would actually give me. No, it does. Get text in column 1. Everything is. This is tomato. Expand red robin. So now I have to turn this tomato click in collapse and expand. And there's another problem here. I'm expecting to see tomato keep popping up here so that I could keep collapsing and expanding it. Only happening once because it's only happening once it's selected. Okay. Here's I abstain. Selected. Test. Right now cell select. Select. Anytime an item is selected, type select. See what it is. I am the selected one. Click again. You are not triggering. Select custom button. This is when I think we do that add button. But technically, a button is always pressed. Like if your button is in this state, you keep this. But the title and the text is not exactly button. It's tree button is the button you don't. But I don't want to more complex that look like text. Getting there. Activated is only going to happen. Double click. I could actually use not exactly the tree signal. When the mouse is, I just have to separate it. But then you kind of would expect that because that title click is a mouse click, but filtering out unnecessary items sucks. You know what I can? I can maybe force deselecting method. Set. There was a clear thing. Kind of like set selected to. So say you click tomato, you expand it, and set the whole tree selection to nothing. The next time the player clicks tomato, this time we change the collapsed to the other selected. The player selects one of the variants, it pulls the explanation. Because we are already doing this. Clicking this again and again and again will just push the clicking this will expand it or close it. Because similarly, if I click potato, actually expand potato, but it will close tomato. So this selection is There was something about the tree I select. See, okay. Once I have access to the thing, I can actually do the select thing. Because when I do this, also do the select. Here, the case actually will be the opposite of lab store now. Let's try. Method call to function is select column. All that call. Tomato, I am the selected. Oh, when everything comes, sorry, I do the get text child, get selected child. Where I was supposed to do the immersing. And of course, I set the true as everything. Damn you. And this selection should also have everything I wrote up there. And this is column 0. Okay, great. Now we're able to open. Scale should open itself, but should also close potential. It's the only data. Clicking it, going to give potato thing. Red robin. Okay, some progress has been made. We have to essentially I don't want to parse every single main child in the tree to force them collapse and only keep the one that I clicked open. What I think I should do is should store which selected child in this one. When we select something, should store this selected is get in the tree item on get in. I don't think that Get parent. Facebook. Get cell mode. What the single select mode. Get children. Because our problem starts when we cell select on tree column title. I think there is still something going on. Am I able to tree column title this thing tree column button. This was actually a whole button thing. It's not. This is already what we are using. Three items select. This never brought up in am the selected, but we are actually doing the three items selected. This I'm the selected one fires when we do the potatoes. We are not going to need. We still have to differentiate between the title click and the like vegetable type click, just potato, tomato, and their variant click. We haven't got to that point, but button press. This is definitely just add on. This is something we are trying right on three column item. How do you column title? This is. Let's see if this is going to fire. This is definitely select. Select. This is three column signals. Columns title. Am I interfering with that process because I'm selecting it as soon as the cell is clicked, which never fires the pressed event? Let's get rid of the deselection. Let's test. Nope. So let's do a recap. We are able to turn on and off the visibility of groups, display their own children, or hide them. That's fine. We have to differentiate between their children click versus their title click. So we could populate this area versus clicking their title will only expand our. We are also looking for a way to click another title so it actually closes the previous. So So we tried to store the index number item, the potato, index 0, 1, or 2. So we are for a way to get the tree items information. Here's the tree item. We are now doing the deselect. And we are also doing the collapse together to collapse the item or expand the item and select it so that further clicks can trigger this. So there's something definitely going on. So here we have to figure out this tree items index number. So what we could do is this: we could actually get the path, which also gives another tree item, which is going to be this. And from there, the same problem. We actually get the item, the index. Get anything. This actually should select. Is the we are actually doing get select before we deselect it. Could store some info. Maybe we could access that info from the tree itself. Something like that. Before you deselect the tree item, tree itself know which tree item is selected. This column, the column business is all other. Because apparently you could have multiple tree. That's all different. It's like a data grid. Get item at. It's actually interesting if you are doing mouse over and we just want to get the item. So that's interesting. Get press button. It's the whole custom button. Again, get column at position is interesting too. So which items, which column? The column title. We could do that. Get edited is. I mean, it's a dumb solution, but we get the title. I don't want to parse the dictionary, find the title, and know that, oh, that title is at index number 1 or 2. Because if there is visual representation of the data, why go back to the data from the visual representation? Why get the title tomato to look for title where it's in the stuff? Just be able to update this. Can we store any other data? Damn children. Set. What was it here? This is, by the way, You're going to bring me custom set. Custom. So it's a 3-item set. No, that's actually coming from somewhere. I saw that get index. Yeah, this is a whole different. That is different for object. Select it, but it should. Yeah, I guess I'm going to brute force way. Parse all the children. Set their collapse to true. Only change the collapsed. Suppose. Say this is not going to work. When something is selected, we get children or child in is a free item. Child is going to then only change the collapse property. Only problem is try this, but this is going to look weird. Sorry. A boolean. Oh, children. I should get the children for get root. The tree item. From here, I get children. Let's see. Children. Equal to the truth is should give us the root. Do the get children. It's the list of three things. This actually this is not do this. It should actually thing because we didn't set the text here. Set high root. Is this one of those things that I separate root this? Able to this much we get it. Instead of get children item, but get children first child item. No wonder why we are getting. I'm expecting to be first child item. Fucking point of getting only first child if it's just get children. And then you do this get next thing. I suppose you do. I see. So you do like the while loop. Get the next like a get next visit. So you're doing a for loop like root root get. Okay, we actually do this. So find the root children first children. While you could get the next one. Let's do a fucking collapse, man. So we actually need to do it this way. Display spark. So was it in folder? It's folder file directory. Something. First of all, I think I'm writing this way. No. Yeah. While child while file name is in the item when you could get next while get next is not null. And I think you do it like this while file name. Yeah, you have to store this. So you check it. Then this file name is already registered, so don't do double call. So var root, because you gotta be able to process the get. Do it this way, then you already skip the file. Then child is collapsed. What should be some assignment. You have to do the file name. Yeah. this because otherwise we're going to reference. So you always have to check it first place. Child unexpected. Potato open. I open kale, hoping it would actually close potato. Did he even run? He did because. So what was I trying to do here? Get all the children from the root. The child. Oh, I did not. But when I do the get children, I'm essentially the same thing. Let's have sign. Because here you don't want to create a new. It's assigning. Problem is this child is actually not. Yes. Why am I doing root here? This is the child. This is the child itself. The first child, the root is the get children. Then, oh, but then I need the get next. Would you do the get next as like since this is a reference, the first child is the root itself. Then if the child is not null, collapse it. Then move to the next children of the come standard child. This is run until while loop. Open it. Now it's actually closing everything. This is kind of what I was expecting. Going to close everything. And because it's collapsed, it's true, which will then turn into false. So here is what we should do. Now this is interfering with this part. Only one of them was open. We actually see some Gotta eat something. How far we Oh, I'm getting chat messages. There are some suggestions. Getting the three items is a bit weird. Yeah, I think we've done that. Your message is relatively new. Okay. It actually a tree item is a node. Well, it's not a node that you can actually put in the hierarchy. That's what you listen to something codec. Let's open that. I think is 5 minutes. So okay, let's see. Root get children, which is there's the tree is defined there. While child exists somewhere here. Child get. I think we've done this already. I have already done. Thank you. See. Yeah, so you see, I did this part, which is collapsing and opening uh, sections separately. But what I'm now looking for is that when I open potato, it also collapses kale. I was not able to store kale or potato layer index now. This kind of how it worked out. So instead, I did the brute force close everything. I only try to open the last click one, but then this is interfering with the brute force. Still don't like this way of doing things. Yeah, as if there should be a way to store the. If this existed, then we could just definitely, collapse the last click one. They still work on because this is working so beautifully, so simple. Just collapse or uncollapse whatever you have. This selection satisfies that we could still retrigger this because if stuff stays selected, then this is no longer. That's fine. This is kind of the ugly part. Let's see. If I'm going this brute force way, parsing every child, that other suggestion I made a while ago, I have access to the title. It's whether kale, kale, potato, or tomato. It may just come down to finding the index number. As ugly as it sounds, in this dictionary we'll have something. We'll have keys, and keys will give us these lovely items. Another alternative solution might be scale itself might be a dictionary instead of an array of variants. If this was dictionary, it had variants. I'll simplify this dictionary this way. It's easier to write it this way without the double quote. This way, I think you can't just mix and match. So variants. Just change it to space character instead of column character. Variants. Because if we are going the way we want to do it, this like finding the title, this title itself in the dictionary may as well have what is the name? Collapsed. So everything will be collapsed in. Then we will just find the right item, set it's collapsed to false or true. Maybe collapse state of this will define the way the tree component looks. Thing like everything is true. is collapsed. So let's just hide this. You do it the brute force way, to be honest. Yeah, I think it might be the right way at this point. Well, I'm working on a demo right now. I have a tight deadline. So May 12th, I think 7 weeks ahead. I have a lot of things to do. I mean, I already feel like I have spent too much time to do pre-collapse and opening thing. So whatever works, brute force, we'll just go for it. Because I want to work on the real stuff, like placing the objects in the game. That part is going to take. So this selected item. Now let's get the title of this. I remember a while ago we were able to get the title, which is the cell get text. This is the one. Now, if only we could access the vegetables. This is the kale itself, let's say. What does the collapsed method say? Missing too few arguments, get text is always going to need a column. Let's try this. This will say true. True, true, no matter. Now we have to alternate true, false here. So something like this. It's essentially this, but then we use that, find the tree's state. This is where we do the brute force stuff too. Something like for vegetables. We want to change every vegetables collapsed to true. First collapse everything. We want to bruise force where checked in while the result is the selected one. Yeah, so basically exclude the one that we are interested. I hear you, because isn't this just another fancy way of doing this? So if we kept this way, the child is not null, but is also not the one we are interacting with, then collapse it. Yeah, I think you might be right, because this is also sounding more and more like, I don't know, saying the same thing in a different language. Station, same. Let's try. Also header working. Child is not null, but then child is also. This is where my blood sugar is low. Brain is sort of saying, I want to keep continuing, but I'm also hungry. Child is not null. Data with state will bite you. Oh, definitely. The data will actually go, it will go into its own file, most likely JSON files. There will most likely be this sort of singletons here, like the way I am handling events. So it will actually be coming from a single source. Right now we have vegetables here, but this planting panel will ultimately have, let me pull the case here. we'll have, right now we are only hard coding the vegetables, but we will have herbs and mushrooms. So then it won't just be one dictionary. These vegetables will be in another dictionary, so longer JSON file. But I just wanted to go with the prototype. Then I can actually make this more and more abstract as I decide. Is not child is not the one we are interacting with. We already have the child selection. The tree gets selected. This is giving us. We could actually do something like, here's a selected item. Here's all the child parts we are interacting. Child is not null, and child is not selected item. Then collapse the child. Then here you handle your own closing and opening. My hungry brain didn't screw up the logic here. This might actually work. Kale open, kale close. Potato open, potato close. So far so good. Potato is open. The kale, oh, almost there. So it actually opened itself. It should have closed potato as well. Huh. Let's try this in it. And there's because it's a whole field. This. See, okay, that's interesting. Work for the potato when kale was open. But when potato is open, doesn't, I can't open. You have a, I think I also broke the, like, while loop is actually creating it. Do the child cell inside the while. See, so you're saying we should create a if con. Child is not cell. I think this is what you're, if this, I see. It'll just, yeah, I see. Okay, it won't pick up this one. By continuing, we are just bypassing this area. Child is, yeah, because we check the, yeah, because when we say that it's the same selection is the child, we have to skip this. Tail is not opening. Column. Child is selection. But right now, child is selection. First item is scales. Click the second. Actually, force the scale to be closed. That's fine. But then it's also breaking the, like, it's a infinite loop, right? Child equals child get decided. Cipher. Child is child get next. Actually, that should be root. To continue inside. Oh. So we got something here, but I think I mixed the order. So let me. Initially, everything is collapsed. Yeah, it's not getting a new child. Just continuing. By the way, at the beginning, when everything is collapsed, this is probably null because there's nothing selected. And then when I mean, actually, that's no longer true because this is only going to be triggered when something is clicked and selected. So this is full. It's not null. Then at the beginning, get the whole root. It's fine. And then the first child happens to be Kale. Kale is not null. Kale, let's say Kale is the child we select. We continue. When we continue here, we no longer actually pick the next one. So this actually should assign it, should pick the next one and then continue. If it's the one you selected, I think this line should also be here too, because when you do collapse, you still want to pick the next. But when you do this, if you're going to do this, you may as well just do this. But then when you do that, you are already collapsing the next. Much as it kind of looks redundant, this is the way. You said yeah to, okay. There might be a delay, so I'm guessing that yeah was for. Kale is not opening. You run it. No, for sure this is running. Text 0. Oh, actually, I'll at some point. Damn, damn is the right word. Let's at least test this print. Oh, I think it enters the while loop there before it could actually do the output. Okay, get rid of all this. I just want to see the name just for a quick win. I think we were able to see it. Kale potato. We actually have a cheap trick here. What if we always open the first item? Because always available. Will it change anything? Because we now know you get the tree is already, we already have the roots, which is root here. Get children. This is actually gets us the first one. Do the collapse false. When we do this, if nothing else, okay. Not that it kind of matters from this point. The root line, child. We have two suggestions, one from Twitch, one from YouTube. The codec is suggesting we try changing the root get next to child get next. 55. And then Nigel is suggesting the root line and child equals root. Oh, he has a question. What is the value? Root line. Okay, the value, Sir Nigel, then I'll suggestion. This is accessing the root. This gives you the first child in the whole tree, which is the root. Well, this is kind of the first child. We are iterating over each child, so we want to get the next possible child. So the first child here is the first available child, and then you get next in tree. But I think using the tree method, this is where the codec was suggesting, instead of doing the root get next, we actually do the child get next. So the current, so the next child is replacing the, see, this sounding dumb. The current child I'm editing is here. And if I'm done with that, I want to assign the next child in the tree to the existing child variable. There are just too many childs. This is an unfortunate. It happens. Kind of has to be logically, but then when you talk about it, everything sounds like child. Kale is opening, closing. Kale is open, potato, and we have a working version. So thank you, the codec. Yeah, that was it. I was doing the next child call from the root itself, but when I'm processing each child, this child should actually know about, like when I'm parsing the tree, kale will know about its next child, potato will know about its child. In this case, that child actually becomes the sibling. But in the code, you kind of get it as the next possible. So he had the right idea. When I was doing the call from the root, it was not picking the sibling. This is the right call here. Yeah, the tree API, I found it a bit awkward too. It has a lot of useful methods. I was at least expecting to have something like this, like it already knows what it's displaying, this kind of structure. This is the high level items. If one of these items is selected, I was at least hoping to get the index number. If this existed, then this would have been done so easily. You know, you could do something like close everything and then only open this index, just two distinct calls, and it would have been done. Now we are doing some brute force logic here. It's no longer needed. Well, I hope this was clear enough. It was a bit confusing, but we have a working version. So it's actually a bit of more visual fun here. So we have an initial opening case, Kale. That's good. Every other combination of clicks is working too. This is the next part I'm gonna, when I click these sub items, I'm right now getting I am the selected one, but we should actually get those titles. By the way, because I changed my data structure, are let's go back to the original. Where it is. As the data gets more complicated, I will probably need a dictionary again, suspecting. But so we have thing 1 and 2 under kale. For potato, we have 2 potatoy things, and for tomato, we have 4 types of variants. That's it. This is where we'll try to get the selected name, something. Something. He gets selected, and get selected. We'll have. Oh, guessing this should work. But no. What is the tree? Or a vegetable class, Nigel. Yeah, yeah. This is a very quick and dirty prototype I'm working on. Yeah, this should actually be done on a more solid foundation. Let me actually run the game without the crash. So I'll actually give all of you a quick plan of what I'm trying to do. Then maybe head for lunch. It's already like 4 in the afternoon. The game will be an outdoor gardening simulation for main PC game, platform. So imagine it's the Sims of gardening. You will be able to place gardening parts like raised beds, plant different varieties of tomatoes, anything you want. There will be climate features. So you will have snowstorm, maybe difficult winter conditions. The soil quality and humidity, all those things will factor in. But in the demo, what I want to do is open up a menu, pick basic equipment like place a raised bed here, click the raised bed, pick the type of plant you want to grow in that area, and watch it grow. At least in 7 weeks, I want to be able to finish that. And then I can add all these varieties, their price information, all this stuff. I just don't want to do too much of that creep. The basic plan is for the next 7 weeks is to get the basic have big plans. Okay. And then of course you should be able to do things with your harvest. I don't want to turn it into a farm milk. Don't really know where the harvest is gone. You just collect it and it's just poof gone. But what do you do with it? So there will be side activities. It should at least help your house budget. Pay less for groceries. You may donate it to food banks, maybe sell it at the farmers market. When I talked about weather conditions, that should also depend on the city you select in the game. So if you want to play the game in Toronto, that's where I'm from, you should have longer winter conditions. But if you play in a tropical area, you'll have longer growing season of but then maybe humidity will be different. It's too dry or too humid. Of course, selection of your crops will be important. So I give as much detail as possible, but that's the difficult part. I don't want to turn this into some kind of like it shouldn't feel like it's a job. You should still have fun, but finding that fun with all those details is difficult. But for the time being, if as a player I'm like now developing this, if I can't actually put things around, then there is no. That's why I'm doing this basic thing. So hopefully, sometime today or tomorrow, I'll be able to click things here and then put on the screen. We have basic time concept done. Yes, there's. Did I actually remove it? There was actually. Oh, there is actually some kind of bug here that something is covering this interface, but there's time passage, sounds angle, and all that stuff. So some basic things, kind of the scope of it, and of course, what Nigel is saying makes perfect sense. It actually has to be done a more solid way, proper classes and such. But part of it is, of course, we learn as we. So I think I'm gonna have some lunch and most likely turn off the stream. I don't want to put the post screen on. Hopefully you'll get a notification later, and it was fun. Your suggestions were really helpful. It helped me see things here. I'm thankful for that. We will generalize this so that it actually includes other planting types, the herbs and mushrooms. We'll keep it more and more abstract, but this is so far exciting. So hopefully see you guys later, and bye for now.